Rossi's Sepang kick. Valentino Rossi's 2015 season was supposed to be legendary. Instead, it ended in disgrace. The Malaysian Grand Prix at Sepang became the site of his most infamous act. Throughout the season, Rossi accused Marquez of deliberately helping Jorge Lorenzo in the championship fight. Tensions between the two had been escalating for weeks. Rossi believed Marquez was slowing him down intentionally during the races to ruin his title hopes. But in Sepang, the rivalry crossed the line into something darker. During the race, Marquez began shadowing Rossi aggressively, cutting his lines, braking late, and constantly disrupting his rhythm. Rossi's frustration grew lap after lap. He claimed after the race that Marquez was deliberately playing with him, rather than racing for position. But no one expected what Rossi did next. On lap 7, with Marquez on his outside, Rossi widened his corner entry, not to overtake, but to force Marquez outward. The maneuver looked strange even to commentators. Then, Rossi turned his head towards Marquez, drifted wider, and suddenly Marquez's bike collided with Rossi's knee. Marquez fell instantly. His race was over. Rossi continued, finishing third, but the damage was already done. Race direction summoned Rossi after the race. The evidence was clear. On-track footage showed him altering his racing line intentionally, leading to contact that caused Marquez's crash. Rossi's defense, that Marquez was provoking him and he had no choice, failed to convince. Officials found him guilty of irresponsible and dangerous riding, a serious sporting crime in MotoGP. His punishment was severe. For the championship-deciding race in Valencia, Rossi was ordered to start from the very back of the grid. It effectively ended his championship hopes. In that moment at Sepang, Rossi didn't lose the title because of Marquez. He lost it because of his own actions. The doctor committed the most infamous act of his career. He chose to kick, not race. Marquez's Argentina chaos. Marquez's 2018 Argentina Grand Prix was not a race. It was an on-track disaster. From the moment he lined up, things went wrong. His bike stalled on the starting grid. In panic, he violated race regulations immediately. Instead of pushing the bike to the pit lane, Marquez attempted a dangerous restart maneuver, riding the wrong way down the grid as other riders were still moving. Officials waved frantically. He ignored them. Once restarted, Marquez joined the race but should have served a ride-through penalty for the illegal restart. Instead, race direction delayed their decision, and Marquez began carving through the field in a frenzy. What followed was reckless, uncontrolled aggression. Marquez collided with Alex Espargaro, forcing him off the track. Moments later, he rammed into Valentino Rossi, one of the most dangerous moments of the race. Rossi was sent into the wet grass and crashed, almost hitting the barriers. While Rossi lay recovering, Marquez continued racing, showing no signs of slowing down. Race direction eventually issued 3 penalties against Marquez mid-race, including a time penalty. But it didn't matter. The damage wasn't on the scoreboard. It was on the riders he left behind. Commentators, teams, and fans accused Marquez of turning the Grand Prix into a demolition derby. His reputation as a tactical, controlled rider was replaced that day by something darker, a rider who believed he was above the rules. Post-race, even race direction admitted their failure to contain him during the race itself. But Marquez didn't apologize. His explanation was simple. He was just trying to recover positions after the early chaos. To Rossi, it was unforgivable. To the paddock, it was dangerous. To race direction, it was misconduct. And to MotoGP, it was a black mark. Caparossi's title robbery. In 1998, Loris Capirossi wasn't just fighting for the 250cc world title. He was prepared to steal it. At the season's final round in Argentina, Capirossi and his teammate Tetsuya Harada were locked in a championship decider. Harada led going into the last lap. Capirossi, knowing that finishing second meant losing the title, made a decision that would define his legacy. As they approached the final corner, Harada rode defensively, covering the inside line. Capirossi, instead of attempting a clean overtake, braked late and drove his bike directly into Harada's rear wheel. The collision sent Harada crashing off the track and into the gravel. Capirossi didn't stop. He picked up his bike, rejoined, and crossed the finish line. His title was won not with a pass, but with a hit. Harada, devastated, watched as officials failed to immediately penalize Capirossi. His protest fell on deaf ears. After long deliberation, race direction applied a post-race penalty to Capirossi for his actions. But crucially, they did not strip him of the title. To Harada, his title had been stolen. To the fans, it was obvious, but the record books were indifferent. Loris Capirossi became the 1998 250cc world champion through what remains one of the most deliberate and unsportsmanlike actions in Grand Prix history. A title wasn't won that day, it was robbed. YansDoping Ban. Andrea Iannone's MotoGP career ended not with retirement, but with disgrace. In late 2019, during routine anti-doping testing, Iannone's sample came back positive for a banned steroid. The news shocked the paddock. Iannone was a factory rider competing for Aprilia. His defense was immediate. He claimed he had consumed contaminated meat during a trip abroad, leading to unintentional ingestion. FIM, however, wasn't convinced. The investigation dragged for months, during which Iannone was provisionally suspended. His legal team fought, presenting evidence, but the counter-argument was stronger. The levels of the banned substance found in his system were too high to be dismissed as accidental contamination. The final ruling was brutal. In April 2020, FIM handed Iannone a 4-year ban from all motorcycle racing activities, the longest doping-related punishment in MotoGP history. His appeals to the Court of Arbitration for Sport failed. From a rising talent to a disgraced outcast, Iannone's career was over at 30 years old. Sponsors sponsors vanished. Aprilia terminated his contract. His public image collapsed. In interviews, Iannone maintained his innocence, repeating that he was the victim of contaminated food, but no one believed him. Official documents proved otherwise. MotoGP's glamorous world rarely sees a doping scandal, but Andrea Iannone ensured it wouldn't stay spotless forever. His final race was not on a track but in a courtroom, and he lost. Rossi's security assault. In October 2015, as MotoGP's title fight reached its peak, the rivalry between Valentino Rossi and Marquez spiraled out of control. The hostility wasn't just on track anymore, it became physical, but not between the riders themselves, between Rossi's security staff and two unsuspecting fans. During the Malaysian Grand Prix at Sepang, two local fans wearing Marquez merchandise entered the public fan area near Rossi's hospitality suite. In any normal race, they would have passed unnoticed, but this wasn't a normal race. After Rossi accused Marquez of sabotaging his title hopes, emotions among Rossi's fan base were at a boiling point. What happened next turned that tension into violence. According to police reports and hospital statements, Rossi's private security team approached the two fans and forcibly removed them from the area. But outside public view beyond the cameras, they didn't just escort them out, they attacked them. Both fans were beaten. The assault was confirmed in local police reports. The victims suffered facial injuries, including broken noses and severe bruising. They were transported to a local hospital for treatment. Pictures surfaced days later showing both men bandaged and bruised. When questioned, Rossi's management denied direct involvement, claiming the security acted independently. Rossi himself stated he knew nothing of the incident, but those guards wore Yamaha-issued uniforms and Rossi's branding. Neither Rossi nor his team publicly apologized to the assaulted fans. For many, the image of Rossi's team beating up supporters of a rival was more damaging than his on-track controversies. It was the moment MotoGP's greatest icon found his logo attached to a real-world crime. The two victims, they never returned to a MotoGP race. Byagi's mechanic assault. Byagi's career was built on arrogance and aggression, but in 2001, his temper crossed the line from ruthless to criminal. It happened at Sachsenring, after a frustrating race weekend where Byagi failed to secure a podium and his Yamaha M1 suffered handling issues. Byagi didn't blame himself. He blamed his crew, specifically his chief mechanic. Inside the Yamaha garage after the race, the situation escalated. Away from cameras, Byagi confronted the mechanic over what he believed were setup errors. He accused him of sabotaging his bike, of incompetence, of costing him points. But the argument didn't stay verbal. Byagi punched him. The physical assault shocked the team. Mechanics rushed to separate them. The Yamaha team's technical director immediately reported the incident to senior management. The consequences were unavoidable. Yamaha fined Byagi heavily, but more tellingly, they barred him from attending official test sessions for the remainder of the season. Byagi, one of their lead riders, was locked out of factory development work, a punishment rarely seen at the factory level. Although the mechanic declined to press legal charges, the incident damaged Byagi's reputation permanently within Yamaha. He finished the season isolated from key engineers, treated as a liability rather than an asset. For Byagi, it was just another moment of anger. For his mechanic, it was a reminder that in MotoGP, even legends could act like thugs. Marquez family death threats. After Sepang 2015, the fight between Valentino Rossi and Marquez reached a terrifying new level, not between the riders, but between their fans. Following Rossi's public accusation that Marquez was sabotaging his title campaign to help Jorge Lorenzo, Marquez's family became targets of hatred. Spanish police confirmed the unimaginable. Marquez's parents and siblings received multiple death threats. Rossi's allegations had ignited fanatical anger across his global fan base. Accusing Marquez of deliberate sabotage stirred the wrong people. On social media, death threats flooded in, but the situation escalated further in real life. Police stationed in Cervera, Marquez's hometown, confirmed receiving reports that strangers had approached the Marquez family home, shouting abuse and threats. His father was advised by police to avoid public events. His brother, Alex Marquez, himself a racer, had to be given security escorts at circuits. Marquez's family lived under fear for weeks as the 2015 title decider approached. Even in the paddock, Dorna officials received intelligence reports of possible physical confrontations at the final round in Valencia. Private security around both Marquez and Lorenzo was increased significantly. Both received anonymous threats as the race weekend began. Neither Rossi nor his team encouraged violence. But Rossi's public narrative blaming Marquez became the trigger. After the 2015 finale where Lorenzo won the title, the Marquez family disappeared from public view for months. The fans that once celebrated MotoGP's global brotherhood became the fuel for real-world terror. In the end, a championship rivalry drove one of MotoGP's greatest families into hiding, and no one apologized. Lorenzo's Yamaha betrayal. When Jorge Lorenzo left Yamaha for Ducati at the end of 2016, it was announced as a professional decision, but inside Yamaha's technical department, something darker was unfolding. During Lorenzo's years at Yamaha, he worked closely with chassis developers and engineers, helping refine the M1's famously smooth cornering. But after his switch to Ducati, Ducati engineers unveiled setup strategies and chassis designs that seemed uncannily familiar to Yamaha insiders. Yamaha's engineers suspected betrayal. Setup parameters Ducati began using, including weight distribution theories, steering geometry, and corner entry balance, mirrored internal Yamaha development concept. These weren't public knowledge, they were factory secrets. Though there was no concrete proof that Lorenzo physically stole data, the suspicion was unavoidable. Engineers who had worked with Lorenzo at Yamaha refused to collaborate with him further after his Ducati move. Privately, they believed he carried Yamaha's intellectual property to a direct rival. Within Yamaha's paddock operations, Lorenzo was treated like a defector. He wasn't accused officially, but he was excluded from informal data-sharing networks that typically help former factory riders. For Ducati, Lorenzo's arrival coincided with rapid chassis improvements. Whether through direct theft or accumulated knowledge, Ducati reaped the benefits. To the engineers who trusted him, Lorenzo wasn't just a former champion. He was a traitor, and they never forgave him.